of the CFA Society Thailand and is one of Thailand's award-winning analysts. He is the founder and CEO of Stotz Investment Research, ASIR, a financial services company based in Bangkok, Thailand. Before establishing the ASIR, Andrew had worked for 20 years in global investment banks in Asia. He also taught as a university lecturer for about 2 decades in the Thammasat University. He is the host of My Worst Investment Ever podcast, co-founder and finance director of Coffee Works Limited for over 26 years. Andrew holds a PhD in finance from the University of Science and Technology of China, MBA in finance and BSc in business administration and management from California State University. He's also a CFA charter holder.
All right. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and thank you, Andrew, for speaking with us. So yes, we can go on now.
Okay, great. So thanks for the introduction, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get started. So I titled tonight's presentation, Build Your Career in Finance. And this is a picture of some of my students in one of our valuation masterclass boot camps. There's Ravi, one of our students. He's now studying in San Francisco. And there's another one of our students. This lady's interesting. She's actually a doctor, a medical doctor, and she studied all about how to learn how to value companies. In the valuation masterclass, which I teach, as I always tell my students, it's tough. And here are some of the graduates of my students who have made it through the valuation masterclass boot camp. This is me in the Philippines when I went on stage to talk about valuation and talking about markets. And in fact, our first boot camp that we did at my home. And this is a picture of us teaching in our home. And this is Chris over behind my right shoulder. Chris is right there and he's teaching. And then these are our students. And we decided to do it at our home because we had COVID going on. And I just thought, I don't care. Let's get this thing moving. And so we didn't have much COVID at that time in Thailand. So we did it there. And this is me with some of my students, some of the students in the CFA Research Challenge, which I've been involved in. And these are some of my students in the Masters in Marketing course that I teach, where I teach about how to value companies and how to understand the financial performance of companies. So tonight we're going to talk about developing skills that give you a competitive edge, various ways to break into the finance industry, and understand the job requirements for different finance positions, and learn about your personality and shape your career around it. So let's first talk about skills. My number one question to financial professionals, young people who want to become financial professionals, is what is your main skill that could help to move a business forward, like my business? Take a minute and think about that question for yourself. What is your strongest skill? What I'd like you to do now is type that into the chat so that I can see what you think is your strongest skill. If you don't know what your strongest skill is right now, that's okay. You can just say, I don't know. We have 37 people in this group. Let's see what some of your skills are. You can start typing into the chat now. All right. Badru says financial analysis and modeling. What about others? Planning and organization. Grace, okay. What about others? I know some of you guys, yeah, that's it. Fatima says, I don't know. Flora says, I don't know. That's fine. Networking, Isa. Financial analysis and valuation wisdom. Market analysis. All right. Vivian says, I don't know. Well, you're still young, right? You're still learning what you know. Knowing how to use Excel efficiently. That's cool from Taufik. And Sahid says, financial modeling, valuation, financial modeling and valuation. Okay, that gives me a little bit of a picture. Busari says, I don't know. I don't know. There's plenty of I don't knows there. That's fine. So this is the most common answer I get from this question. And I'll share that with you right now. 1 second. We have more people joining, so I'm just letting them in. So some people say I have a high GPA. Other people say I'm highly motivated, I'm disciplined. Other people say I can adapt to any environment. Others say I can work good in teams. Another says I am results oriented. And another one says, I don't know, Andrew. So you're not alone to be able to say that right now. Now, why do you need to take this question really seriously? If you can find your answer on the previous slide, I'm going to disappoint you. All of them are just skills. They're not really skills. They're just buzzwords. I work well in teams and blah, blah, blah. Bosses and recruiters are looking for people who stand out from the crowd. Without developing some sort of key skill, you do not have a competitive advantage over your peers. Especially in the finance industry, you need to have at least one area to differentiate yourself. So you need to start thinking about that today. So the question is, what is an area that you could be in the top 10% in your compared to your peers? This is your challenge. It could be writing, it could be speaking, it could be Excel, it could be valuation. Let's look at some skills. Here are some specific skills that you could think about. It could be accounting, it could be coding, customer service, database, Excel, Facebook ads in the area of marketing, and could look at product design, public speaking, quantitative research. You could say social media, speech writing, statistical analysis. All of these are examples of areas that you could build a specific skill. But the key is you got to build something that's specific. Now, how do I acquire skills? That is a picture of my office. In fact, I've expanded my bookshelf even more from there. But I acquire skills through reading. And I've read thousands of books. I would estimate I probably have read 5,000 books in my life. So what if you don't have a specific skill and you feel like, I don't know where I stand now? It's time to start. Now, I want to tell you a story about how in 1988, when I was in my final year of university, I bought a secondhand IBM computer, and it differentiated me in my job just 1 year later when I graduated. That's the computer that I bought in 1988. In fact, that's the computer in my actual room in 1989. The computer is down here at the bottom left at my desk, and the monitor and the keyboard are up here. By this time in 1989, I had already started working for Pepsi, which you can see a Pepsi can. You can see Pepsi here. I had Pepsi everywhere because they were paying for me, which I appreciated. They paid for my MBA also. The point is, when I went to work at Pepsi, I could operate Excel better than my peers. Now, I want to tell you a story. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I want to speak to you directly with this story. The story is this. I have had many interns working with me in my career. And they all say the same bullshit thing on their resume and CV. I'm good at Excel. So what I decided to do was to design a test. And that test that I came up with was to test their skills in Excel. And I gave them a pretty challenging test of how to create a particular type of Excel document. Turns out most of them aren't good at Excel. They just said they were. Now, this is amazing when you think about it, because it was all the way back in 1988 and 89 when I bought that computer and I built a competitive advantage with Excel. Nobody even knew what a spreadsheet was. And here we are nearly 40 years later. And what do I see? Many graduates from school still, even though they're studying and using Excel, they still don't know it. In other words, I built a competitive advantage in Excel in 1988, and you could build a competitive advantage in Excel today. That's amazing. You know, you would think that everybody's amazing in Excel. And this is where I want to challenge you. People aren't as great as they appear. I've seen it all in my career. The best folks out there aren't as great as they appear. The worst folks aren't as bad as they appear. Stop focusing on the appearances of others. Stop feeling intimidated by others and start thinking about where you are going to build your skill. It could be in writing. It could be in Excel. It could be in organizing. It could be in management. It could be in many areas. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Build a strength in one area and stick to it. Yeah, so this is gold. This is a key thing that I've learned. I'm going to continue sharing, but if you have questions or thoughts along the way, you just leave a message. So when young students, as I say, I give them this small project. Most of them put Excel down, but we find that almost all of them fail that project. This means that despite Excel being taught at university, unlike when I was in university, you could still build a competitive advantage right now in Excel. And remember, your competitive advantage isn't your advantage relative to me. Your advantage must be relative to your peers. So don't be intimidated by people who have been in industry for many years. That's not who you're competing against. Last thing to consider with regard to competitive advantage, don't be intimidated. Remember, you're not competing against me or the big bosses in the company. You're competing against your peers, and most importantly, you're competing against yourself. Am I a better man or woman today compared to what I was yesterday? And if the answer to that is yes, then you are winning in life. So most of your peers will hardly even try. You can beat them easily. Maybe 50, 60, 70% won't even put in the effort. And a small number will try a bit, and they'll probably give up eventually. And they're a little bit harder to beat. And then maybe the top 10% will be tough competitors. So set your sight on being in the top 10% of your business, of your area of specialty, and you will be fine, because you don't need to worry about these guys and you don't need to worry about these guys. You need to focus your attention on that top 10%. And that's where you want to build your skill and you want to compete. Now, let's look at various ways of breaking into the finance industry. The profession of finance is very broad. There's some topics, for instance, here's from CFA exam. And what you can see is behavioral finance, economics, corporate finance, quantitative methods, ethics, or derivatives, portfolio management, equity valuation, fixed income. All of these are areas that you could take an interest in and work in. Now, I've circled equity valuation because that's the one I like. In fact, I don't like derivatives. I don't like fixed income. I don't like behavioral finance. I'm okay with quantitative methods. I don't like alternative investments. You don't have to like everything. When you're studying, you got to learn everything a little bit, but then you focus on the area that you like. And I like equity valuation. It's fun. Now, a bachelor's degree is kind of a minimum, right? Most entry-level positions require an academic degree in finance or accounting or business. Other degrees have also become increasingly acceptable, like mathematics, statistics, engineering, that type of thing. There's also alternative ways to get the necessary finance education. Obviously, CFA is one that I would highly recommend. I know that the CFA Society of Nigeria is trying to help get access scholarships for students in Nigeria. So make sure that you follow up with that. And if there's anything I can help you with in reaching out, let me know. And the advantage of CFA is that it's a rare designation that can help you really stand out. Even in Thailand, a pretty developed country, we only have 600 people who have CFA charters after their name. That's out of a population of 70 million. And that basically means that if you get a CFA, you are elite. you have hit the top of the industry. Now, CFA changed my life. After years of volunteering, I basically became president of CFA Society. And here's me speaking at our CFA annual event, addressing all the financial professionals. Now, I want to talk to you for just a moment about this. I want to speak directly to you. For many of you guys, some of you have set the goal that I want to go to London. I want to go to New York. I want to go out of Nigeria, which is fine. You know, I can understand wanting to do that. Some of you say, no, I don't want to be away from my parents, or Nigeria is where I want to be. That's fine. In my case, when I was 26 years old, I sold everything I owned. I quit my job at Pepsi, and I left it all to go to Thailand to teach finance. It was pretty much one of the best decisions of my life. It opened me up to a whole new world. I came to Thailand, I knew nothing. I didn't know the language. I hardly knew anything about the culture. I just thought this would be a cool place, and the economy was booming. We're talking about 15% economic growth for 10 years in a row. So I just felt like this was an awesome place. So I came, and it was hard. And I got a job eventually as an analyst, and I built myself up over time. I volunteered with CFA. I got to know people, but ultimately it's not my country, right? I'm American. I'm in Thailand. But after 20 years of living in Thailand and being active in the field of finance and building my reputation, I put in my name to be elected as the president of CFA Society, Thailand. And I was voted president. And when I won that, I felt to myself that it was the most proud accomplishment of my life. Not getting my CFA, but being president, to think that Thai people, Thai financial professionals trusted me to lead them and represent their interests in the world of finance in Thailand and globally. That was an honor. Now, some of you guys are going to be able to get out and get to another country and do your thing. And when you find, what you can find is that CFA is much more than an exam. It's a network of people who have all struggled to go through the same thing, and they made it. And so you're going to have a natural connection. And as president, I went out to almost every CFA society I could in Asia. I presented, I met people, I taught, I did everything I could. And I built a network. And when I wanted to expand, for instance, my valuation masterclass to Nigeria, I just reached out to CFA Society Nigeria. Now, I hadn't met them before, but I just reached out and said, hey, I got something here. I was the former president. Would you be interested? And then we started to connect and talk. CFA is much more than an exam. It's a network, and you can build that network. So that's my pep talk about CFA, because it really did change my life. So let's look at a job description. Here you can see one job description in Thailand. It says that, you know, having CFA or professional certification is a plus. It's getting harder to get a job without having something like CFA here, at least in Thailand. So start to gain your first experience. With the intensified competition, job requirements also become more demanding. Some entry-level jobs even require some form of previous experience. This is what we call the chicken or the egg problem. Basically, you need experience. They won't hire you if you don't have experience, but you can't get experience if they don't hire you. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Fresh grad wants to gain experience. Entry-level jobs require previous experience. It's a virtuous cycle. You can solve this problem. There's many ways to get some exposure to real-world projects. Let me show you a few examples of how you can get required experience without a job. First, enter a case competition like CFA Research Challenge and get involved in that case competition, and that will give you real exposure. So beyond that, let's look at some others. Participating in a case competition gives you something to put on your resume or your CV or your LinkedIn that you competed in it. Also, you guys are in a university club. That's awesome. Get involved. For the leaders of this university club, I'm sure you noticed that only a small number of students really get involved to propel the club forward. For all the others that haven't gotten involved, but are sitting here listening, get your butt involved. Grace, you need help, right? You can't do everything that you're trying to do alone, just like Shahid and others. You can't do it alone. You need help. Would you welcome it if somebody who's been quiet and hasn't really participated came to you and said, what could I do to help? How would you feel about that?
Oh, I'll feel very happy and, really from a couple of work. Yeah.
We love it. In fact, I'll give you an inside secret. If you take CFA exam, let's say you take level 1 and you pass level 1. You haven't become a CFA charter holder. So you're not really in the club because you got to get your charter to be in kind of the CFA society. Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to teach you 2 little tricks. Trick number 1, many CFA societies, I don't know about Nigeria, but we have to check it, allow non-CFA charter holders to become members. I had a friend of mine in my CFA society, and he basically, I was talking to him, I said, so when did you pass CFA? He said, I never took CFA. I said, what the hell are you talking about? How are you in our group? He said, well, you have an affiliate membership. It costs $50 a month. I studied accounting, but I know CFA is a great place. So I bought a membership and I'm a member now. I was like, damn, that's smart. So that's the first thing, is that some societies have affiliate memberships. You can ask, can I join as an affiliate member? Number 1. Number 2, imagine that you pass level 1. I want to tell you a story about this guy. His nickname, in Thailand, we have nicknames for everybody. His name is Note, N-O-T-E. And I was president of CFA Society, and Note came along and said, hey, where can I help? And I put him onto something. He started working on the research challenge, and he started helping. And after 2 years of working with me, I was like, when did you get your CFA? He said, I didn't get my CFA. I said, what? What are you talking about? He said, I passed the exam, but I didn't get my charter because I haven't had my experience. And I just finished the level 3. And last year I was on level 2, but I just decided to volunteer. So he just volunteered with the society, even though he wasn't a CFA charter holder. And he was a great volunteer, very reliable, very helpful. And he ran his area really well. Then one day he told me, oh, Andrew, I got my CFA. I got the letter from CFA Institute that I can use CFA after my name. I was like, that's awesome. And then he said, now I want to get on the board of CFA. I was like, damn. But the whole requirement for board membership is not, many boards don't want super senior people because they have no time. They want some junior people because junior people have time and they're gaining a lot from it. So the requirements to be a board member is this person active in the society? So because he had been active in the society and now he had his CFA charter, when his name came up to become a board member, he was immediately voted in as a board member. And he still is a board member to today. And that was maybe 6 years ago. So those are 2 tricks. Number 1, you could become an affiliate member. You have to check it out. Number 2, once you pass level 1, go to the society, reach out and say, I recently passed level 1. I've got some free time. What can I do to help? Trust me, they'll bring you in. All right, those are some inside tips. So now I'm going to continue to share my screen, but my screen is frozen up a little bit. So just give me a second here. Hold on. Hold on, technical difficulties. All right. Okay, we're back. So you could become a research assistant, and you could go to a teacher, a professor, or somebody who's doing research in your country or near you and say, how can I help? You can apply for an internship. It's a great opportunity. Also, the companies that are hiring people for internships, they want to hire those people to work, in the company if they can in the future. An internship also helps you for them to see if you're suitable. So you can see here's a person who's done 3 different internships. Now, don't just sit around and waste your time just because the government is useless and your teachers aren't showing up. Passing the university exam is usually not enough to get your job anyways. You've got to go beyond that, right? So as a result, start getting experience now. Here's a great comic, a swift kick in the butt for $1, what you really need. I'm kicking your butt right now. Start to get experience. I want to tell you about my friend, RJ. He got a job on the spot from one of the toughest bosses I've worked for. So my friend, RJ, I was working as an analyst. My boss was the head of research. And he was from Sri Lanka, very, very smart guy. His name's Shriyan. And Shriyan never hired anybody quickly. He was very slow to hire. And one day I asked Shriyan, what are you doing today? And he said, I got a job interview. Someone's coming in to apply for a job to be an analyst. I said, oh, that's cool. So at the time, maybe it was 1 p.m. or whatever, this guy who I didn't know, RJ, walked in and went straight into the conference room. And then my boss, Shriyan, went in. They were in there for about an hour. And when he came out, RJ left. Shriyan went to his office. And I went to see Shriyan and I said, how did it go? And he said, I hired him. I said, is he an analyst right now or what? He's working at a competitor? He said, no. He's not even an analyst. He's not working at a competitor. Has he ever worked as an analyst? No. And you hired him? He said, yeah. It's like, how the hell did you do that? I said, why? What justified that? He said, RJ came in and he showed me a portfolio of 10 stocks that he owned. He bought those 10 stocks and he brought a audited performance record of his 10 stock portfolio that he's been managing for the last 5 years. He went to the big firm to get it audited so that it wasn't disputable. And RJ had made a lot of money investing in stocks. And he went through each stock and why he owned that stock. By the end of the meeting, my boss just felt like that's what I need in an analyst, is someone who can identify a stock that they want to buy, come up with the reasons why they want to buy it, and then take that message and explain it to someone else, just like RJ explained it to Shriyan, my boss. And boom, he got the job. Now, you may say, but Andrew, I don't have any money. The Nigerian stock market is very risky. I'm not sure what to do, and I don't know much about it. All excuses, you've got to come up with a way. So how would I do it if I was you? You say, Andrew, I have no money. That's fine. Start with an Excel spreadsheet. Start picking your stocks and put them in a spreadsheet. Pick 5 or 10 stocks and track their performance. Then start analyzing companies and saying, why should I own this? Then it doesn't matter about Nigeria or not. You can look anywhere, right? You can look at stocks all around. And I know you guys have some apps and other things that will give you access to stocks around the world. But if you have no money, set up a model portfolio and start thinking about it. So this is another piece of advice about how to get some experience when you don't have experience and you don't have money. So next, familiarize yourself with job requirements. We've already discussed about educational requirements, how to get experience. Now you should start checking out specific job skills required for a job. This can help you identify which skill you should learn next. So let's come back to our previous example of a quantitative analyst. we can see that programming skills, quantitative skills, knowledge of option theory, statistical distributions, all those things would be advantageous. Just go to the internet and look for the job requirements and see the job that you think is suitable for you. Look at the skills that they're looking for and then get those skills. So another example of a data scientist position here, proficiency in SQL, programming, Python, R. If that's the type of work that you want to do, that's what you got to build a skill in. No excuses. You have the advantage of free sources to learn from. Look at what we've got on YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube for free. Have you been doing that? Well, maybe you're just lazy. Maybe you're not motivated. Maybe you don't know what it is that you want to do. I don't know about your situation, but today, make today the day that you tell yourself, I'm going to identify one skill and I'm going to work to try to learn that skill through YouTube, through online blogs, from anybody I can. Find that person on Twitter, find that person on LinkedIn who knows that skill. Comment on what they're saying. Ask them for explanations about things. People love to share. How much money are you guys paying me to talk today? Nothing. I love to share. There's financial professionals all around the world that love to share. Yeah, we have courses and other things too that we sell, but the point is, we also love to share. I just gave a 2-hour presentation just before this for a local university case competition with students from around the world, and I just love to share. So get out there, find the materials that you need to learn your topic, and then find the people who are good at it and ask them. So let's talk about different positions. There are 5 main categories of skills in finance, according to me. This is not according to any textbook. It's not according to any survey or anything. It's just according to me. Technical skills, communication, analytical thinking, leadership, and creativity. So first, technical skills like Excel and stuff like that. It's a prerequisite. You've got to know these things. And you may have to learn something like Python as an example. Communication. Well, be open-minded and confident. You've got to present to clients. Good communication skills also require you to be a good listener, accept feedback. Now, I'm going to give you a secret magical tip to becoming a good listener. Are you ready? Now, I just want to make sure that you haven't fallen asleep. So please tell me yes if you're ready in the chat. All right, good. Nobody's sleeping. You guys are rocking. All right, so here's a very simple tip that I would give you, and that is shut up and take notes. What do I mean by that? Most people spend all their time talking and not listening, and it's hard to stop talking. Have you ever been around someone that talks, and they don't listen? You may say, yeah, my father, my mother, my brother, my cousin, my friend in school, right? On and on. And sometimes you can't even get through to them because sometimes they're on the phone, you know, oh, yeah. So I created my own planner book. This is a planner book that I designed. And I use this planner book for planning every day of my life. I don't sell it on the internet or anything like that. I just print it as a book for myself and the people in my business. And also I do a little coaching for senior executives, and sometimes we use that. But I leave an area in there for taking notes. And what you can see is all throughout the week, I'm taking notes. You can see these notes right here. I'm constantly taking notes. Why is taking notes so valuable? Because it's very hard to write and speak at the same time. It's hard to write and speak at the same time. I have an important meeting that I got to just respond that I'm going to be there. It's my best friend's birthday tonight. And so I just had to tell him to come here and he's going to pick me up and we're going to go out for dinner. So I just wanted to tell him. Otherwise, if I didn't answer, he'd be like, where are you? All right, let's continue on. Analytical thinking, solve problems on your own. It helps you tackle complex problems. The ability to think critically, independently is so critical. Form your own opinion and don't just follow consensus. This is how you become valuable. Think about things, use your brain. You may come to the same conclusion as others, but at least you've come to it by applying your own brain and your own knowledge. Now, I am a financial analyst. My job is to use the tools of logic and reason to predict the future. It is not to base my decisions on my emotions. I like to use this formula, LR over FP. LR over FP. What does it mean? Logic and reason over fear and panic. We've seen during the time of COVID that many adults and others in power led their lives through fear and panic. But I want to apply logic and reason. I want logic and reason to be higher than fear and panic. So if we had this as a ratio, I want this ratio to be greater than 1. So leadership. An effective leader's got to make decisions under pressure. A good leader can also be a teacher and a mentor. Now, are you attractive? Let me ask you. What do you think? It's a strange question to ask people, right? Are you attractive? And of course, the confident ones say, yes, I am. But many people go, I don't know if I'm attractive or not. I want to introduce you to a man who is attractive. Let me do that now. This man, his name is Dr. Lu Wei. And he and I met many years ago, and he invited me to do my PhD in China. And there's me, and there's Dr. Lu Wei, and we're working on my dissertation. And once I graduated from university with my PhD, I would go back and see him, and this is us over here talking about business and stuff. But what I loved about Dr. Lu was that whenever a student, when I was in talking to him in his office, talking about my dissertation, it's a very serious time. We have my research up on the wall, projected on the wall. We're going through it. And then somebody would come up to the window of his door and they'd look through. And it's one of his students would be looking. And he would always do the same thing. Come in, come in. And at first I thought, oh, but I'm presenting here. It's our time to go through my dissertation. But what Dr. Lu did is he brought in the student and he said, hey, you should listen to what Andrew's going to present right now. Maybe you could learn something from him. Dr. Lu always welcomed people into his office to listen to the others and get to know each other. And that's what made Dr. Lu an attractive person. What does it mean to be attractive? I attract good things and good people. This is a mantra that I say to myself in the morning. Every day, I attract good things and good people. And you know what? Good things and good people come to me. Bad people don't stay around me because there's no point. It's a waste of their time. I'm not going to gossip with them. I'm not going to spend time complaining about stuff with them. I don't have time for that because all my words are positive. And these are some of the things that I've done to try to think about it. And one of the things that I did that I always liked about Dr. Liu is that his words were always positive. So my mantra is, all my words are positive. And when you repeat that over and over again, basically you start becoming a person who's always positive. No matter what's happening in your life, you become a person who's not complaining and a person who's not gossiping about others. And the result of that is you become an attractive people. And when you become an attractive person like that, then people want to be around you. And then your life will change. So this is one of the attractive men that I've met. Creativity, create new ideas, right? Creativity helps you think outside of the box. Exposing yourself to unknown situation helps you to become a stronger leader. Imagination leads to innovative ideas, competitive edge. Now, becoming an investment or an equity research analyst, I'm going to show you the skills on a bar chart. The most important skill for an equity analyst is to think critically. That's what I would say. Analytical thinking, I would say, is about 35% of this. Now, you don't have to write all this down because I'm going to give you this presentation. So what does an equity analyst do? They write research reports. They project future financial statements and give a recommendation on the companies that they cover. Typically, an analyst covers around 10 to 15 companies. It's also common to specialize in an industry like consumer or something like that. The job as a junior is working with data, gathering information. You can see one right here. We're looking for a strong candidate who can help us harness the power of data and information to build a rock-solid foundation for our investment analysis process. Or create and maintain earnings, valuation recommendations, price objectives. These are the types of things that an equity analyst has to do. What about becoming a fund manager? Well, here it's a little bit different. You've got to have a little bit more technical skills, less analytical thinking, and you've got to have a little bit more leadership because you've got analysts working for you, helping you find good ideas. So you're going to spend less of your time working on crunching the numbers and doing all that analysis. Now, if you love crunching the numbers, stay focused on being an equity analyst. But if you say, I don't want to crunch the numbers all the time, I want to have some technical skills, I want to have some communication, and I want to be doing leadership. So that is what you get as a fund manager. So a fund manager implements their own investment strategies and asset allocations. They mainly consult clients in investing their clients' capital. So here you can see assistant senior manager to manage portfolio to meet investment objectives, prepare all the presentation material to internal and external stakeholders. This is basically supporting the fund manager. That's what a new person in the world of finance does. As a senior, you're going to study, analyze, and give recommendations for decision-making, and you're going to look at investment styles and methodologies and that type of thing. What about an investment banker? Well, here I'm going to say the communication is a pretty big one there for investment banking, and other one is relatively high, let's say leadership. So an investment banker is engaged in the advisory aspect of financial transactions, IPOs and the like. You work on due diligence, preparing written prospectus and negotiating terms. In particular, you focus a lot of attention on one company. So here you can see some requirements like work closely with senior bankers in client management, develop client presentations, transaction-related document. It's always going to be under a lot of time pressure also. Here you can see act as a project coordinator for each transaction, coordinate with commercial bank, corporate banking, and relationship managers. What about becoming a salesman or woman? Here, you're going to need more communication skills, much less analytical skills. It's down to 5, and the technical skills also is relatively low, but it's communication that's critical. So what does a salesperson do? You introduce and distribute financial products to your clients. You need to understand the customer's requirements and circumstances to find a suitable product. And here we can see that you work closely with senior sales team members, you work on presentations and all of that. Or you develop client acquisition, expand market share, and try to work on how you help the company better serve their clients. Ultimately, you might want to become a manager. And here, again, you got a lot of communication and also a lot of leadership skills for management. This is how I see it breaking down. What does a CEO do? You're the highest ranking executive. You're responsible for major corporate decisions, managing operations, acting as a primary communication party. So this position, of course, is not for juniors, although some people may think that they want that, unless you founded your own business, and that's the world of startup. So we can see that the list for CEO, what they've got to accomplish is long, and trust me, it is a challenging job. So last thing I want to tell you about is you need to learn about yourself. If you really want to become something in this world, you have to learn about yourself. What's my strengths? What's my weakness? What do I like? What do I want to do with my time? I understood this at a young age. And so when I was at your age, I spent a lot of time trying to learn more about myself. And here, you want to think about what's the right career path for you. My advice for you is find your passion. You might even consider taking a personality test. Read the job requirements carefully because you don't want to end up in a job that you don't like. And also, this is a personality test I took in 2004. It's called a DISC personality test. And it showed me that I have a strong dominance personality. That's the D in DISC. And I had a steadiness was lower. I was also more creative rather than being a steady Eddie. And here I could see more about this in this detail. This described a little bit more about me. And another book that I found very great is the book called Strengths Finder. And that I took the quiz or the survey that they have in here, and I learned that I'm an activator, I'm strategic, I'm a maximizer, significance and focus. I did this in 2008. Now, when I was very young, we did a personality test and they tried to suggest what was the suitable job for me based upon my personality. And you won't believe the job that they recommended. All of us in school went and took this test together, and they gave us each a printout that said what we were going to be good at. And what they came up with me was an embalmer, meaning I take dead bodies and I take the blood out of them and I put the liquid in the blood that preserves the body. Well, obviously, I didn't really want to be an embalmer. And then I realized, oh, come on, this test is stupid. This test is not me. I'm not going to be an embalmer. And I realized, don't put all of the weight on the test. Use the test to help you understand a little bit more. So this is the final thing I want to show you. And I said I would have something special for you. So if you're looking for a career in finance, then consider the Bootcamp. Rashid is in it right now. We're starting the next one on May 23rd, but don't do it unless you are truly badass and tough, because it is hard. Here's 4 things that we do. You learn practical stock valuation skills. You access the tools that I use. You're going to join a group of inspiring, like-minded professionals, and you're going to get into my network, not only in Thailand, in Asia, but also my network in Africa and in Nigeria. So for you guys, we have 2 scholarships that we've said we will give to your society. So I challenge you guys all to consider applying for it, but only apply if you have the guts and the toughness to do it. We're going to grant 2 scholarships. Make sure to apply and complete the first step of the application process by 5th of May, as soon as possible, obviously. Now it's question time, and feel free to ask any questions. I think I'm going to sit down now, and also for you guys, feel free to turn on your videos because I want to see you and I want to have a nice conversation while we finish up this presentation.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for the amazing session. So, prior to the meeting or the presentation, I wrote down a couple of questions, but honestly, your presentation has just answered it all, right? So thank you so much for the great session. So I just want to say to our audience today, if you have any question, just kindly share your questions or ask your questions using the chat box. And thank you so much, Andrew, for the scholarship. We are honestly very grateful. So, all right, so one question I would like to ask is, my passion is related to commodity exchange, which is like the derivative markets. But I noticed that it's not really many people usually focus on investment banking and equity research. It's not, I feel like very few people really focus on derivative markets, and I'm kind of lost when it comes to, if I'm focusing on the derivative market, then what exact position am I holding? What am I doing? Am I an investment banker? Am I an analyst? What exactly am I? And what skills are really required for me to really do well in the derivative markets?
Okay, so what I would say, the first thing is that we're being recorded, but we're all adults here. So I'm going to say that I don't give a shit what other people say. I don't care what other people think. I don't care if this is common or not common. I just don't care. I want to do what I want to do. And if you say that commodities is the thing that I want to do, I want to trade commodities, I want to do it, it doesn't matter. Just do it and start doing it. Start doing it today. What is the wheat price right now? It's shooting to the sky because 20% of wheat capacity globally has just been shut down. Ukraine and Russia have just banned exports of wheat, and that's almost 20% of the global wheat supply. Boom, what's happening there? And how is the market going to adjust to that? And we can see already, talking to a friend of mine in Kenya yesterday, talking about prices rising really fast. We can see. And then when rising prices happen, what happens to the incentive to produce more wheat for other farmers? But wait, there's a cycle of growth. You can't just get more wheat today. You got to grow it. It takes time. So the way people compete in the commodity space is they learn about the top commodities that are out there, and then they figure out how to get some competitive edge in it. And then you're going to search out for groups about commodities, people talking about commodities, comment on them on Twitter, comment on them in groups, try to learn everything you can about it and become active in it. And that's it. And then you can find something with that. Now, you can argue that, let's just say that you want to do something related to something that's old and out of date or not very common anymore. You may put yourself in a difficult position. It's better to compete in an area that's growing and doing really well. So you have to understand that if you are focused on an area that other people aren't focused on, you have to have the discipline and the passion to do it. Otherwise, it gets a little scary.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew. So we have a question by Aminat Giwa. So she's saying, thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. I was really inspired by the session. I have a question. For someone who is passionate about analyzing the stock markets and performance of companies, what ideal career path do you suggest, sir?
Well, I think that, first of all, being an analyst is a great career path. I mean, I love it. And we always need people that are able to look into companies in more detail. Now, you can also say, well, I don't know if I like so much detail. What I really like is managing a portfolio and think about how much should I put in of this stock? How much should I put in of that stock? When should I buy some of this? When should I sell some of that? So you have to think about it. What I describe, the thing I love about being an analyst is this. I'm an idea originator. If you're a great analyst, you are an idea originator. What does that mean? That means, okay, I think interest rates are going to double in the next 3 months. And when they do, I think that this particular sector is going to do really well. And within this sector, this particular couple of stocks are going to do really well. Now, let me analyze that and go through that and support that with my research and evidence. And once I've done that, then as an analyst, I go out as an idea originator and say, I have an idea. And I've supported it with evidence. Now, salespeople are not idea originators. They're idea repeaters. They're idea repackagers. And they take ideas from idea originators and they package them in a way that the client appreciates. The idea originator doesn't give a crap about the client. I'm focused on my idea. And so I just put out my idea and here's my support. But a salesperson is an idea repackager, or also could be considered an idea repeater. Now, a fund manager is a person who's looking for ideas and they're accumulating ideas, but they're not originating. Okay, other questions that help? Does that answer some of that? Don't know. That gives some answer, let's say.
Okay. Hi, Amina. Does that answer your question, please?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
We had some questions before.
Okay.
Someone asked, where do you get the personality test? I think you got to, what you have to do is go to, I use this book. It's not a backdrop, right? It's a real bookshelf. That's the book that I got, and it's called Strength Finders. Sorry, put it upside down. And I think it's called Strength Finders 2.0. You can go to the website and you can find out more about it and see if you can get it. That's one. And then the other one is DISC. I don't know, but you can just type in DISC and you will find the DISC personality test. Now, these things cost a little bit of money. Sometimes there are some free ones that you can use. Some of these will cost, but if you can afford it, it's something that will really provide you, I think, awareness of yourself, and that's critical. All right, other questions, Grace?
Okay, thanks, Andrew. So somebody is asking for like the registration link for the bootcamp.
Yeah, let me just see if I got that. Hold on one second.
Okay.
You have some time to apply for that. So let me just see. Hold on one second. I'll just tell you, when you go into this registration link, think about it a bit. Don't rush into it, because we're going to look at your answers carefully. Don't just say, oh, I'm amazing, I want to do this and that. You got to think carefully, because you're going to be competing against a lot of other smart folks. So there's a link right there. I just put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Yep. So one question for someone, and this question is from Tijani Lawal. So it says, hello, Andrew. For someone who has no background in finance but seeking to cross in, what advice do you have for such person, please?
So for someone, what was that again? Somebody who, for someone, okay, has no background but seeking to cross in. Okay, I didn't understand the cross. I think the first thing that I would advise is if you studied, let's say, engineering and you wanted to work in finance, you probably have to take something like CFA exam, or something like, I have engineers that come into the Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp, and they come in and they going to learn there. But then you've got to have some way of getting credibility, and CFA is one way of doing it. But the other thing is you've got to just start reading, start studying. And for everybody, I would focus on, starting to pick some stocks that are out there in the global markets. put them in an Excel file, and start tracking your performance.
Okay, Andrew, I would just like to add a bit of my experience to that. So my background is in pure science agriculture. So I just spent a semester, I'm specialized in agricultural economics for like over the years, about 3 years. I just devoted like 3 years of my undergraduate years learning about finance, participated in CFA ethics, participated in CFA research, interned at Bank of America. So it's just about learning. Like when you're sure that, oh, this is what you want to do, you begin to learn, take courses online. I always like suggest Coursera, EDX, just know what you want to do and then go after it. So thank you so much, Andrew. All right, so one other question from Adebeshin Tohib. It says, hi, Dr. Andrew, I have a question. What aspect of finance could be a strength for an economics graduate with CFA qualifications?
I think that economics, for me, I worked as a bank analyst at first. And because I worked as a bank analyst, I had to study economics because banks have everything to do about the economy. And so I really had to learn a lot. So the first thing I would say is that there is some overlap. If you're an economist, try to go and become a bank analyst, start looking at banks, because you have to understand loan growth in the society, GDP, inflation, how all these things impact the profit margins of banks. So one idea is that.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
One question from Wisdom Odusonya. It says, thanks so much, Dr. Andrew. What would you advise a Nigerian student trying to break into international firms? Like, what's your advice for a Nigerian student breaking into international firms?
It's tough. It's tough. You're going into an international competitive environment. It's awesome. And it's a great and ambitious goal. But I'd say your first challenge is to win in the Nigerian market. Try to figure out a way to win, get some wins in Nigeria, and then think about how I enter. That's one option. The other option is just go for it. Apply for everything international that you can possibly do, and then reach out to professors and teachers and other people and try to tell them your situation and what you're looking for. If you set it as your goal and you write it down and you make it clear and you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, you will start to see it happen. So that would be my advice. And just, there's another one I saw. How do I get a recording of the session? I'm going to record this. I'm recording it and I'm going to give you the link to it so you guys can use it. Somebody asked me on a direct message, do you think someone can combine finance with technology? I need your view. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of, right now I have a friend of mine who has a business where he's basically using fintech platform to sell mutual funds, and it's a very successful business. Grace, maybe I'll ask Rashid. If Rashid, are you able to turn on your camera and come on, Rashid?
I'm Yandu.
Yeah, so maybe Rashid, you can just share a minute or two about what you're learning in the Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp.
Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Lawa Rashid, and based on the Valuation Masterclass, it is a program which is held for 6 weeks. And within that 6 weeks, actually, I can tell you it is a rigorous process. Firstly, we discussed a lot of things related from finance made ridiculously simple, which I can critically tell you that you don't have to be from finance background before you can succeed in this aspect. Anybody can actually take the course and be successful in it. So after the first week, we continued with our valuation analysis. And one of the best things I love about the Valuation Masterclass is for every week, we have what they call portfolio. That is, you are meant to pick up your companies for at least 5 companies in a week. You have to study the market movement and the likes. And this is actually a competition between all the aspirants in the evaluation bootcamp. And as well, we were asked to pick a final report company. That is, at the end of the bootcamp, we will have to analyze, carry out the discounted cash flow, do the modeling, do the valuation analysis of the company, and present to Andrew at the end of the evaluation masterclass. And I believe there are a lot of things to learn during this process, which I believe if you all join it, it will be of a great advantage to all of us. Thank you.
Yep. So Rashid is one of the students representing Nigeria, and we have more than him. We also have another student who's a professional banker who's in the course, who's an older lady. She's in it also. I'm gonna have to go in a couple of minutes. So why don't we take the final questions, one or two more questions. And also, so let me talk about the scholarship just for a minute. The scholarship is not free. The scholarship requires a $99 payment. The scholarship basically, the course costs about $1,400. So, but we never give a scholarship for free because we want everybody to have skin in the game. You've got to be put a little bit into it so that you can really be committed. We also provide 100% money back guarantee for the first week so that you can take it for a week and you think, I don't want it, I don't like it, then we just return the money. So that's an important thing to note. So you really, it's one way of really trying to help people get committed.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Yep. I'm seeing a couple of others. As far as personality tests, I would say try a different one. And if you don't like the results of what you see on one, try a different one. Also be more sincere and then see what it comes up. I see a question here. Any help on getting back CFA Access Scholarship Award, which was previously promised to the equity research participants, but was now due to the concern from the head office the local society is unaware of. That's a little strange. I don't know the details of that, but I do think that you can continue to complain to CFA Society and ask them, please, you have evidence that they said that they were going to offer it, and CFA Institute should come up with something like that. But I don't know enough about this particular situation, and I don't have any position in the Institute, so there's not really much I can do. So I'm going to send you, it's going to take me about an hour or so, a couple of hours to finish the recording and also to prepare the PowerPoint. And then I think I will send that to Lawal Rashid, and then he can share it, or I'll send it to Grace or you guys. And then after that, you guys can share it, right? Good. I've got to go.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, great to see you guys. And remember, find your passion, find your dream. Don't let anybody stop you. Stay focused on it, but you got to work hard for real transformation. Also, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. You can ask any further questions and stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew. Bye.
All right. See you guys. Yep. Bye.
Thanks so much, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.